All right, thank you, Nate. Well, it is Wednesday morning and time for our Morning Cup of Joe segment. Sheriff Joe Lombardo is joining us from Metro headquarters. And good morning to you, Sheriff. It's great to have you with us.
Good morning, Alex. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, we know it's been a tough few weeks and a tough few months now for officers. Sheriff, how are officers doing? How is morale at the department this morning?
Well, I think it's been a tough year, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's high on 2020 right now. To answer your question, my perception is they're doing fairly well. It's difficult, as you described, all the different issues we're dealing with as a police agency, and now to include all the protests and the COVID resurgence and all the things you can imagine that we go through. Plus, I don't want people to lose sight, as you know, we're a crime-fighting agency, and it's important for us to continue in that vein. So, but to answer your question, I think they're doing fairly well under the trying circumstances, and I'm very proud of the police department and everything they've done in the last few months.
Well, as we know, there have been growing calls for police reform the past few weeks. President Trump did sign an executive order earlier this month, and Attorney General Aaron Ford also sent some proposals over to the state legislature. What are your thoughts on these potential changes, Sheriff?
I actually personally think it's needed. There are some identified issues in policing as a whole that have been, there has been a need to address them moving forward. And the reason why I say that is because we had some issue in previous years, and you know, when they fell by the wayside, there wasn't a lot of momentum in the discussion with that. But here at LVMPD, we saw the need to make changes. So as recently as last month, our use of force policy was updated. So the things that the sheriff the president keyed on was de-escalation and duty to intervene and training and accreditation. Those are all items that are currently in our policy. So I don't think it's burdensome for us to continue in that vein and to help support what the president is trying to achieve.
Okay. Some recent protests as well have called for defunding police. We've seen that not only locally but all across the country. What would you say to those who think the police need less money right now?
Well, you think my automatic knee-jerk reaction would be no, absolutely not, because me being in the policing profession for 32 years, know that police matter. We make a difference in society as far as the feeling of safety and the ability to provide that safety, and for you to go about your life within the limits of the Constitution in a safe manner. And I think that's important for people in their quality of life. Now, defunding, I can support in some aspects. And what I mean by that, over time, society has asked police to expand their resume. So every society out there, in particular to mental health and homelessness and hunger, the police are expected to take care of those particular issues. And it's real easy. The public calls 911. When there's a question on how to handle a particular situation, like the ones I described, you dial 911 and the police have to handle it. And we don't necessarily have the resources or the training or the ability to handle a lot of those things. Not a lot of them, a few of them, in particular to homelessness and mental health. So if they want to defund, to develop teams per se, or social worker, that type of profession to address those type of calls, I'm in full support of it. Because we're not the answer, in the fact that, you know, usually the answer to us is incarceration, and that's not the answer to those particular problems.
It's very interesting. All right. Sheriff, we've all been wondering about Officer Shay Mikalonis. He was shot a couple weeks ago now during a protest. How is he doing?
Well, I appreciate you asking, Alex. Unfortunately, not well. There hasn't been significant change since the last reporting of his condition. And under permission of the family, through a Twitter feed, they announced to the public that he has paralysis, and it's probably going to be for the rest of his life. And then it will probably require a respirator for the rest of his life. So, but he is alert. He's opened his eyes. He appears to show some awareness of his family members. So that is a bright light in his condition currently. We're attempting to get him to an extended rehab center in Denver, Colorado. He is dealing with the current issue, so he's unable to be transported as we speak. But with fingers crossed and prayers given, I anticipate he'll be able to move to a better facility to ensure his long-term care.
Well, we are all wishing the very best for him, for Officer Mikalonis and his family. So, Sheriff Lombardo, thank you so much for being with us and for all you do. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Alex.
If you have a question for Sheriff Lombardo, send it to us on our website, 8newsnow.com. You can watch Morning Cup of Joe every Wednesday right here on Channel 8. And we'll be right back with more news right after this quick break. Stay with us.